The calculator page in LoadCall gives access to a few helpful tools for calculating net barrels, looking up GPS locations, and things like that. So up across the top, you have tabs for different things that your organization has access to. So in this case, we have net barrels, strap tanks, and a GPS lookup. The net barrel page lets you calculate net barrels from your gross measurements right here. And by default, it'll throw in a few measurements, but you can go ahead and modify these. So you could say that you have 200 barrels with a gravity of 41.4. You have your observed temperature, the pressure usually you can ignore, BS&W, top temp, bottom temp, and a meter factor if you have that. And what this will do, if you click calculate, is it will take these measurements and run it through the American Petroleum Institute's formula for net barrels. And you can see that the 200 barrels have been corrected to 60 degrees to be 197 barrels, since the temperatures are higher and then compared to the sample, then it's less dense in this case. And you have the corrected gravity as well. And also down here, you have access to how net barrels are calculated. It gives you all the different intermediate steps, if that's of any interest to you as well. But pretty straightforward to use, pretty standard. The next calculation here, the strapped tanks, lets you pull information out of your directory and check the strapping on it, as well as calculate barrels based on the top and bottom load. So if I were to put in a pickup location right here, then you can see that it'll tell me how many barrels per inch there are. So I pulled up the Abington 645, chose this pickup dock or tank on that site, and it tells me the barrels per inch. So if I were to put in some measurements in here, so we'll say 12 feet 2 inches down to 5 feet 1.25 or something, and click calculate barrels, you can see how many barrels you get from that strapping. And this also works with incrementally strapped tanks if you have some of those. Alternatively on here, you can search for a ticket. So if I have a ticket number right here and search for it, it will pull up the actual location right here. And you can choose the dock, and you can see how that works as well. So the other tool in here is the GPS lookup tool. So in here you can convert from a latitude and longitude, or down to an address, or from an address to a latitude and longitude. So if I put in here something like, let's do 29.42, and in the Western Hemisphere it's going to be negative 98.5. Let's calculate the address, and it will, looks like it pulled up 602 Urban Loop, San Antonio, Texas, zip code, all that. And so the reverse would work as well. So if we were to put, copy and paste all of this stuff over here, we'd probably get more accurate GPS since I left off some of the digits. Let's go ahead and do that really fast. You can see that this one works as well too. And you don't need to know the county when you're doing the lookups, but it's provided when you're using a GPS location. So if I do that, it looks like we got, a little bit more exact there. But yeah, so that's the calculator page within LoadCall. Pretty useful for just some quick tools that you may or may not have access to in other software programs.